tomorrow, could change everything. Across the world, from the bright lights of New York to the bustling streets of Baghdad, investors are holding their breath. The anticipation is electric, like the quiet before a storm that everyone knows will change the landscape forever. For years, discussions about the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong have lived mostly online, whispered in chat groups, debated in financial circles, and dismissed by skeptics. But tonight, that chatter has turned into something very real. Official reports are now confirming what many thought they'd never hear: exchange centers are being activated nationwide. That's right. The systems are being tested, staff have been notified, and preparations are underway for what may be the most significant currency event in modern history. After years of speculation, endless waiting, and unshakable faith from investors across the globe, the long-awaited revaluation of the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong appears to be entering its implementation phase. From Baghdad to Washington, from Hanoi to London, the same quiet message is being repeated across secure financial networks: systems are online, rates are loaded, and final confirmations are now underway. This isn't just another rumor or unverified leak. This time, it's different. This time, all signs are pointing in the same direction. Government insiders, financial technicians, and bank-level contacts are aligning their statements. The pieces are fitting together. The preparation that's been happening behind closed doors for years now seems to be unfolding right in front of us. Think about it. Iraq has rebuilt its banking infrastructure from the ground up, implementing international digital protocols that connect directly to the global financial grid. Vietnam has stabilized its economy, strengthening its exports, boosting its foreign reserves, and aligning its currency systems with international standards. Every move, every reform, every audit, every policy adjustment has been leading up to this very moment. And now, the signals are everywhere. Major exchange hubs are reporting increased activity. Internal memos reference rate testing and system synchronization. Even global financial tracking systems have noted unusual data flows between Iraq, the US, and select Asian markets. It's as if the entire financial world is holding its breath, waiting for the green light. What was once a distant dream whispered in quiet conversations may now be only hours away from becoming a tangible reality. Imagine it: the screens lighting up, the exchange rates updating, the numbers shifting in real time. Investors who held on through years of doubt might finally see the moment they've prayed for unfold right before their eyes. This is not just about currency. It's about transformation, the kind that turns faith into fortune and patience into power. This is Currency Revalue, your trusted window into global financial change, and tonight, we're breaking down what's happening, what it means, and how you can prepare for one of the most extraordinary financial events of our generation. Because tomorrow could truly change everything. Every major transformation in history begins long before the world realizes it. And the story of the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong revaluation is no different. For years, quiet work has been happening behind closed doors in government offices, banking headquarters, and financial institutions across the world. Most people never saw it. Most thought nothing was happening. But those watching closely knew something was building. It began with Iraq rebuilding its financial foundation after years of instability. The Central Bank of Iraq worked relentlessly to modernize its systems, transitioning from outdated manual processes to advanced digital platforms that connect directly with global banking networks. This wasn't a small task. It required years of planning, international oversight, and coordination with global institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. Step by step, Iraq restructured its entire monetary system, aligning with SWIFT protocols, tightening compliance, and adopting new anti-corruption measures that finally opened the door to foreign investment. At the same time, Vietnam, often called Asia's rising dragon, was making its own quiet moves. The country stabilized its inflation, expanded its manufacturing base, and formed new trade partnerships across Asia and Europe. The Vietnamese Dong, once considered undervalued, was being backed by a growing, export-driven economy. Both nations, Iraq and Vietnam, shared a common goal: economic sovereignty and currency restoration. And for those following closely, the signs of alignment were impossible to ignore. But this wasn't just about economic policy. This was about timing. Every major revaluation requires not just preparation but the right global conditions. Over the past 2 years, we've seen central banks around the world move toward de-dollarization, expanding their gold reserves and building trade systems that no longer depend solely on the US dollar. Iraq, in particular, took bold steps, signing oil and trade deals that allowed payment in multiple currencies, building reserves in gold and yuan, and securing its economic footing independent of external influence. Meanwhile, the U.S. Treasury maintained a quiet but constant presence inside Iraq. Their advisors worked hand in hand with local banks to ensure compliance, stability, and readiness for what many now believe to be the final phase of revaluation. Sources from within these institutions, people like bankers, auditors, and regional coordinators, have hinted for months that the system is ready. They've spoken about rate adjustments being loaded into banking databases, internal memos discussing synchronization testing, and the quiet presence of international observers monitoring the entire process. Behind the curtain, the pieces were being locked into place. The activation of exchange centers now being reported in multiple regions is not a random event. It's the culmination of everything Iraq and Vietnam have been building toward. It means the internal systems have reached operational readiness. It means the digital rails are connected. And it means the next move, the rate change itself, could happen at any moment. Think about how precise this operation has to be. Every system from local branches to global clearing houses has to update simultaneously. Every rate has to align perfectly across platforms. Every country involved must be synchronized. This is not a small regional event. It's a global financial recalibration, something that requires perfect timing, trust, and coordination on a scale the public rarely sees. And yet, we are now closer than ever. In the past few days, multiple reports have surfaced from both Iraq and the United States, confirming that exchange centers, both public and private, have been told to stand by. Some have even received final activation notices, signaling that the long wait may be over. Inside Iraq, the dollar price drop in Baghdad and the rate stabilization in Erbil are not just coincidences, they're signals. Indicators that the markets are adjusting ahead of something much larger. And as confidence grows, Iraq's citizens are beginning to feel it too, a renewed sense of pride, stability, and optimism that has been missing for decades. The question now is not if this will happen, but when. And many insiders believe that when is coming sooner than anyone expects. For investors who have waited sometimes for years through every rumor, delay, and disappointment, this moment represents more than profit. It represents validation. Proof that patience, research, and faith were not in vain. The world may be on the edge of witnessing a historic event, one that not only reshapes economies but restores hope for millions of ordinary people who dared to believe. Change never happens in isolation. When one currency moves, especially one tied to vital oil reserves or rising trade economies, the effects ripple across the world. And if what's happening now with the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong unfolds as many expect, we could be standing at the edge of one of the most profound monetary shifts of our lifetime. Let us start with Iraq, a nation that sits on some of the largest untapped oil reserves on the planet. For decades, its wealth has been locked away, held hostage by conflict, corruption, and outdated financial systems. But now, those barriers are beginning to fall. With stability returning under Prime Minister al-Sudani's leadership, international contracts are being revived, global partnerships are expanding, and major corporations are once again looking at Iraq as a center of growth, not chaos. When a nation like Iraq gains economic strength, its currency naturally follows, and that's the heart of what's unfolding right now. As the US dollar's grip weakens globally, Iraq and Vietnam are positioning themselves as new players in a multipolar financial system, one where regional currencies begin to carry real weight on the global stage. Now, imagine this: an oil-producing country that's no longer forced to trade exclusively in US dollars. A revalued dinar, backed by vast energy reserves and rising confidence, could suddenly become one of the most attractive regional currencies in the Middle East. That's not just theory, it's the natural outcome of a nation finally stepping into its rightful place in the global economy. Meanwhile, across Asia, Vietnam is quietly emerging as a manufacturing powerhouse, the next China in the eyes of many economists. Factories that once produced goods in Shenzhen or Guangzhou are now thriving in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. This industrial growth, combined with Vietnam's disciplined monetary policy, has created a solid foundation for the Dong's rise. So when we talk about revaluation, we're not just talking about a sudden increase in currency numbers on a screen. We're talking about years of preparation, economic reform, trade realignment, and global strategy finally converging at one point in time. This is why so many financial analysts and insiders describe the moment we're entering as a global recalibration. If both the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong rise in value, they won't just impact local investors, they'll affect everything from oil pricing models to international trade settlements and even foreign reserve strategies. Now, let's talk about what this means for you, the investor, the observer, the dreamer who has been following this story for years. For many, this journey began with skepticism. People laughed. Critics dismissed the dinar and dong as speculative. But behind the noise, those who studied the data saw the potential. They recognized that Iraq's oil wealth and Vietnam's manufacturing strength weren't temporary trends, they were pillars of the global economy waiting to be revalued properly. And now, those same early believers are seeing signs that their faith may finally be rewarded. Once these exchange centers are fully operational and the systems are confirmed to be live, we could see a gradual or even sudden adjustment in currency rates. It might begin quietly, behind the scenes with institutional transfers and digital exchanges, before reaching public awareness. That's how major financial events usually unfold, first silently, then suddenly. But make no mistake, if the reports are accurate, this activation signals something extraordinary: readiness. And with readiness comes opportunity. For those holding dinar or dong, the next few days could redefine years of patience and belief. For those new to the conversation, this is a moment to learn, observe, and prepare, not just for potential gains, but to understand the massive shift in global economics that's unfolding before our eyes. Think about it: if Iraq's dinar revalues to reflect even a fraction of its oil wealth, it could immediately transform the country's GDP, reduce national debt, and inject billions into development projects. It could lift communities out of poverty, stabilize the region, and give everyday citizens renewed pride in their nation's financial power. And globally, it would send a signal that the world's financial future no longer belongs to one or two dominant currencies. It would belong to many nations, each backed by tangible resources and productive economies. This is what many call the new era of balanced wealth, where currencies are valued not by politics, but by real assets and sustainable growth. And for Vietnam, the ripple effect would be equally powerful. A stronger dong would attract even more foreign investment, increase regional purchasing power, and strengthen its trade partnerships, especially with the ASEAN bloc and the growing BRICS alliance. The result: a shift from dependency to independence, from volatility to stability, and from waiting to winning. So, what happens next? That's the golden question, one that every investor, every economist, and every policymaker is asking right now. And while no one can pinpoint the exact hour or day, one truth is clear: the systems are ready. The signals are flashing. The global financial current is shifting direction. This isn't hype. It's history. So whether you're watching from Baghdad, London, New York, or Manila, stay alert, stay informed, and most importantly, stay hopeful. Because the greatest financial transformations in history don't happen overnight, they happen right after everyone stops believing they will. And that's what makes this moment different. Tomorrow, that single word has never carried so much power. Because for millions of investors from the heart of Baghdad to small towns across America, tomorrow might not just be another day. It could mark the beginning of an entirely new era. For years, the revaluation of the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong was dismissed as wishful thinking, a myth whispered in online chats and tucked away in investment forums. But now, the tone has changed. Reports of exchange centers activating, systems sinking, and international observers confirming test rates are fueling a global sense of anticipation. So what happens after the RV officially begins? Let's take a look at what this new chapter could look like for Iraq, Vietnam, and for every dreamer who believed this moment would come. Underscore 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 on. A new economic dawn in Iraq. The first ripple will begin where the story started in Iraq. The Central Bank of Iraq will officially announce the new rate, triggering an immediate adjustment across financial institutions, digital trading platforms, and foreign reserve systems. Overnight, the purchasing power of the Iraqi dinar could multiply, giving ordinary citizens more strength in the marketplace. For the first time in decades, Iraqis will see tangible proof that their nation's wealth, their oil, their trade, their natural resources finally reflects real value. The government will move swiftly to stabilize prices, monitor imports, and protect against inflation. And in doing so, Iraq will send a powerful message to the world: we are no longer dependent. We are rebuilding. Foreign investors will follow. Construction projects will surge. Infrastructure plans that once sat idle will roar back to life: highways, refineries, ports, and schools. And for the average Iraqi family, this won't just be numbers on a screen, it will mean opportunity, jobs, and dignity. Underscore 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 on. Vietnam's rise, from workshop to powerhouse. As Iraq takes its first step, Vietnam won't be far behind. The Vietnamese Dong, long undervalued despite the nation's massive trade network, could finally be adjusted to reflect its true strength. For years, global corporations have been quietly moving manufacturing to Vietnam: Apple, Nike, Samsung, and dozens more. That momentum has built an industrial foundation strong enough to support a more valuable currency. When the Dong revalues, it will not only boost Vietnam's domestic economy, it will reshape Asia's trade landscape. The country's exports will gain prestige, its middle class will grow, and its government will find new leverage in international partnerships. For the Vietnamese people, disciplined, hard-working, and visionary, this moment could mean the world finally recognizes their economic power. Underscore 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 on. The investor's moment. Now let us talk about the part everyone's waiting for, the exchange itself. When exchange centers officially open, investors will begin the process of turning long-held hope into reality. Those holding physical dinar or dong will be guided through secure verification and conversion steps, often with specific procedures designed to ensure smooth transitions. For some, the change will be life-altering: mortgages paid off, debts cleared, families supported, futures rewritten. But more importantly, this will be a moment of validation, proof that faith and patience were not in vain. The investors who held on through doubt, through years of maybe next week, through countless news cycles, will finally have their story come full circle. This is why, across social media and financial circles, one phrase keeps echoing louder than ever: it's not just about money. It's about believing before anyone else did. And that belief is what separates dreamers from doubters. Underscore 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 on. The global reset. Now let us zoom out. Because the RV isn't just a local event, it's a global financial reset in motion. If Iraq and Vietnam successfully revalue, it will challenge the current monetary hierarchy. The dominance of the US dollar and euro may begin to shift toward a more balanced world economy, one where oil, trade, and resource-rich nations set their own value. We could see new trade alliances, regional gold-backed agreements, and a surge of innovation in cross-border digital finance. And that's where the digital dinar and digital dong could come in, bridging traditional banking with blockchain systems designed for transparency and speed. This isn't just modernization, it's evolution. And the nations that lead it will define the financial future of the 21st century. Underscore 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 on. Stay patient, stay hopeful. So here's where we bring it home. For years, the Dinar and Dong communities have shared a common dream, not just of wealth, but of fairness, balance, and restoration. A dream that nations long overlooked could finally rise and reclaim their place in the world economy. Now, as systems activate and centers prepare, that dream feels closer than ever. But remember, patience built this journey. And patience will see it through to the end. Every great shift in history has required courage, endurance, and faith in something bigger than the moment itself. So whether tomorrow brings the announcement or just another sign that we're getting closer, hold fast. Because every signal, every leak, every quiet confirmation has been leading us here. Our time is coming. And when it does, it will not just be a financial victory. It will be a human one. Because the story of the Dinar and Dong isn't just about money, it's about believing that change is possible, even when the world says it's not. This is Currency Revalue, reminding you to stay informed, stay hopeful, and never stop believing that your tomorrow can be brighter than today.